was that members of the royal family had raised, quote, concerns in multiple conversations about what skin colour baby Archie's skin would be.
The silence felt different this time. It wasn't a practiced pause or a dramatic moment for show. This silence swallowed the room. It came from deep inside a man when something he buried finally surfaced. Prince Harry, who has shared his every wound and betrayal with the world, reportedly broke down. The focus of his emotions? His daughter, little Lilibet. And the person who triggered this? Piers Morgan. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, get ready for a deep dive into one of the most emotional and surprising moments in the ongoing conflict between Prince Harry and Piers Morgan. This isn't just another catchy headline or tabloid gossip. This story has real weight, real consequences, and real tears, reportedly flowing down the face of a duke who thought he had already faced the worst. He was mistaken. Today, we will explore 6 key angles. We will break down each layer of this explosive story clearly. Stick around to the end because the final point might change how you view the entire situation. Let's get started. The name that started a war with the palace. When Harry and Meghan announced the birth of their daughter on June 4, 2021, they named her Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor, Lily for short. This choice seemed, on the surface, to be a gesture of profound tenderness. Lilibet was the private childhood nickname of Queen Elizabeth II, a term so intimate and deeply personal to the royal family that even senior royals rarely used it in public. Diana, of course, was chosen to honor Harry's late mother, the Princess of Wales, a name infused with grief, love, and a generation of mourning embodied in just 5 letters. Meghan and Harry explained that Lily is named after her great-grandmother, Her Majesty the Queen, whose family nickname is Lilibet, and that her middle name, Diana, was chosen to honor her beloved late grandmother, the Princess of Wales. At first glance, the announcement seemed like an olive branch, a soft landing following the tumultuous Oprah interview just 3 months earlier. This interview detonated like a bomb within the walls of Buckingham Palace. However, within hours of the birth announcement, the machinery of royal tension began to grind again. Reports indicated that the palace had not been forewarned that the baby would carry the Queen's most intimate family nickname. Sources close to the palace suggested, and Piers Morgan amplified these whispers into a roar, that using Lilibet without permission was not an act of love, but rather a calculated provocation. According to Morgan's framing, it was a move designed to make the royal family appear ungrateful and cold if they objected, while simultaneously casting the Sussexes in a sympathetic light if they did not. Morgan, never one to miss an opportunity to insert himself dramatically, took to Twitter claiming he was respecting the couple's constant pleas for privacy and declining to comment. A statement so laden with sarcasm that even his critics had to acknowledge the perfect timing. By stating he would not comment, Morgan had in fact already commented. He planted a seed, and in the days, weeks, months, and now years that followed, that seed grew into a sprawling, ugly tree. But the real shock was not just the name itself. It was what happened next, the palace's reaction, what Morgan revealed, and what Harry allegedly did not know until far too late. The Queen's rejection that Harry never fully disclosed. The emotional encounter between Lilibet and the Queen occurred during the couple's visit to the UK in June 2022 for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. This trip coincided with Lilibet's first birthday, making it her very first visit to Britain since her birth. Think about that for a moment. A little girl turning 1 year old in the country where her father grew up, meeting her great-grandmother, the most famous woman in the world, for the first and, as fate would sadly determine, the only time in her life. Harry and Meghan reportedly wanted their photographer to capture the moment Lilibet met the Queen, but they were told no. It was a private family meeting. There were concerns that any photos taken by the couple's photographer would be shared with US television networks. This detail, a specific, quiet, devastating detail, allegedly broke Harry open when it resurfaced in 2025. It was not just about a photograph, it was about trust. More specifically, it was about the complete collapse of that trust. The palace didn't trust Harry and Meghan to protect this private family moment. They believed, based on what they considered evidence, that the images would be commodified and sold to the highest American bidder before the ink on the press release was dry. Although no photographs were taken, Prince Harry later recounted the encounter in his 2023 memoir, Spare. He described Lilibet's sweet and quiet interaction with the late Queen, Archie making his deep bows, his baby sister Lilibet cuddling the monarch's shins. Harry wrote, "Sweet as children," Granny said, sounding bemused. She'd expected them to be a bit more American. That passage is both tender and tragically sad, as Queen Elizabeth passed away just 3 months later, in September 2022. That June visit was the first and only time she ever met Lilibet in person. Piers Morgan's contribution to this narrative reframed the entire story, not as a tragedy, but as a consequence. His position, broadcast to millions via his platform, was that Harry and Meghan's pattern of behavior had so deeply eroded trust within the royal family that even something as sacred as a grandmother meeting her great-granddaughter had become tainted by suspicion. Regardless of whether you agree with Morgan's framing or dislike it intensely, the core fact remains undeniable. That meeting happened only once, and then it was over. Forever. The title hypocrisy. Piers Morgan refused to let die. If you thought the birth announcement was where the controversy peaked, think again. In 2023, a new chapter exploded into the headlines, with Piers Morgan once again at the center of the drama. The California-based royal couple began referring to their young daughter, Lilibet, as a princess, seemingly resolving the uncertainty surrounding the royal titles of their two children. Confirming her baptism, a spokesperson for the couple called her Princess Lilibet Diana. Morgan's reaction was immediate and intense, and his supporters would argue, remarkably precise. On his show Uncensored, he remarked, "I was under the impression they kept telling the world how ghastly the monarchy is, that it's a prison camp, and all the royals want to escape but feel trapped in a world of titles and privilege. Yet now they want to bestow royal titles on their children? They don't even live anywhere near the royal family." This hypocrisy argument became a recurring theme for Morgan, much like a dog returning to a bone. The reason it resonated so powerfully is that it exposes the internal contradiction Harry and Meghan have never fully addressed in public. They stepped away from royal life, citing the toxicity of the institution, moved 5,000 miles away, and described it as a form of liberation. Yet they retained the titles, and their children carry them too. Each time this fact resurfaces, the narrative of escape versus exploitation grows murkier and more complex, making it vulnerable to the kind of scrutiny Morgan is known for. For Harry, sources suggest that this was more than just a political annoyance. It was deeply personal. It affected his children, his daughter in particular. She is a little girl in California who has no say in any of this, and is already being drawn into a decades-long conflict she didn't initiate and cannot yet comprehend. The security standoff that kept Lilibet away from her family. Here is a dimension of this story that deserves more attention. The security crisis that has physically separated Lilibet and Archie from their British royal family for years. Piers Morgan has exploited this situation at every opportunity. Harry stated through a legal representative that without a police protection team, it would be too dangerous for Prince Archie, Princess Lilibet, and Meghan to visit the country of his birth. He pursued this argument through the British courts, not once, but twice. He sued the British government twice in the High Court in London and lost both times. He mounted an appeal which has now also been rejected, suggesting that a legal battle lasting more than 3 years has finally come to a halt. 3 years. 3 years of legal disputes. At the center of it all, hidden within the legal language of briefs and court filings, are two children who have been raised essentially cut off from one side of their family. Archie has memories of England, of Frogmore Cottage, and of his great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. In contrast, Lilibet has no memories of any of it, because she was barely a year old during her one visit. Morgan's response to all of this is predictably scathing. He publicly wrote, he trashed his family as Prince Philip was dying. He trashed his family as the Queen was dying. And now he's trashing his family while both his father and sister-in-law have been battling cancer. Is there a more contemptible public figure in the world than Prince Harry? This is the essence of the Piers Morgan method. He doesn't just criticize, he constructs a timeline, builds a case, and places each incident within a larger pattern. He then presents this pattern to the public as if it were an obvious and irrefutable verdict. While Harry has many defenders who push back against this framing with legitimate arguments, the emotional undercurrent is difficult to combat. Each new detail about Lilibet's birth, her title, her one meeting with the Queen, and her absence from British soil all contribute to the question, who is responsible for this distance? Royal expert and author Hugo Vickers, speaking on The Sun's royal exclusive show, offered a pointed warning. I worry about the children because there's going to come a point when they will ask, why haven't I met my grandfather on either side? And he's storing up a lot of emotional problems for them, I think. The reconciliation trap and the pain behind closed doors. In 2025, a significant change occurred. Quietly and cautiously, with the media holding its collective breath, Prince Harry returned to the UK. During this visit, he met with his father, King Charles, for the first time in 19 months. They shared a private tea at the King's London residence, Clarence House. Harry made the trip alone, without his wife, Meghan Markle, and their 2 children. In the aftermath of that meeting, Harry made a surprising statement, indicating that he would consider bringing his children back to Britain for a visit, despite ongoing security concerns. This marked a subtle opening, a slight crack in what had become a long-standing divide. It's believed that King Charles has not seen his grandchildren in person for years. Reports suggest he last saw them in June 2022, when the Sussex family traveled to the UK for Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. As of this recording, it has potentially been 3 years since a grandfather has held his grandchildren. 3 years is a long time, especially when a child who was barely 1 year old the last time she saw her grandfather is now a 4-year-old with her own personality, voice, and laugh. He has missed all of it. Piers Morgan responded immediately and harshly to Harry's subsequent BBC interview, where Harry expressed a desire for reconciliation with his family. Morgan labeled him a treacherous, bitter little man, and argued that the king should strip Meghan of her title, framing Harry's gestures towards reconciliation as mere attempts to manipulate the media rather than genuine outreach. This situation becomes genuinely complex, especially as Harry reportedly experienced overwhelming emotions. Many of the revelations Piers Morgan has shared over time are not just attacks. Some resonate with truths that Harry himself has acknowledged in his memoir, Spare. These include the photograph ban, the one meeting with the Queen, and the feeling that his daughter's connection to her British family, encompassing her great-grandmother, grandfather, and the country her father loves and mourns, has been severed by a combination of factors beyond any single decision. When these details resurfaced, amplified, editorialized, and weaponized by Morgan's platform, Harry's emotional response was reportedly not one of anger. Instead, it resembled something quieter, something that, according to multiple accounts, appeared to be grief. The bigger question, nobody wants to answer: what does Lilibet know? This story highlights something very important. A child is at the center of it all. It's not just about the ongoing conflict between 2 men, Morgan and Harry. Behind the headlines and media buzz is Princess Lilibet Diana. Lilibet is 4 years old and lives in Montecito, California, with her parents and her older brother Archie, who is nearly 6. Her parents, despite any controversies, seem to love their children deeply. However, Lilibet also has a grandfather, King Charles, whom she might not even recognize. The media constantly watches her family, creating privacy concerns for Archie and Lilibet. Reports suggest that efforts to mend ties with the royal family have not succeeded. Lilibet has a great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, whom she met only once when she was 1 year old. That meeting was brief and special, with no photos taken. Lilibet has a complex family history that is very public. One day she will try to understand it, which will likely take a long time. Royal commentator Hugo Vickers noted that there will be a time when Lilibet and Archie will wonder why they haven't met their grandfathers. The pressures surrounding this situation seem to have affected Harry deeply. It's not just one issue, it's the buildup of many events. Piers Morgan has laid out a timeline regarding Lilibet's early life, covering everything from naming controversies to her meeting with the Queen. Morgan argues there is a pattern in the choices made, while Harry might see the outcomes of those choices differently. Caught in the middle is a little girl who is named after a queen who saw her only once. The visit was a touching moment. Lilibet hugged the Queen while Archie bowed deeply, and the Queen affectionately called them sweetest children. Sadly, Elizabeth passed away just 3 months later. No matter what you think of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, or Piers Morgan, there is one undeniable fact: a great-grandmother never got to know her great-granddaughter. Lilibet's grandfather has not seen her in years. Meanwhile, her father, far away, regrets that some moments cannot be recovered. This situation is not a political story or just a feud, it's about a family. Families, even famous ones with many challenges, carry their losses in ways that no news report can fully express.